Let's hope for some smooth results. All right. Good day, and welcome back, friends, to yet another exciting episode of the original podcast that accompanies this large project called No Other Life. I'm grateful that you've been here with me for the first 7 episodes, and although I can't promise the big results that we had in the previous week, stick around because there is going to be some value here. And of course, I'm joking a little bit because last time we basically solved civilization. We figured out why it is we're here. We figured out why it is that we individuals are here. And we threw in the ultimate goal toward civilization, the meaning of life. It was a big 15 minutes. But today, alas, we're back to thinking about ourselves. And the way that we're going to do this today is by extending from that path last time. Now, in the episode last time, we learned that civilization exists as a result of some Greek person planting a tree whose shade they knew they would never sit under. And that became very significant, historically speaking, because we started to try to bridge temporal distances. So we were all of a sudden caring about those who came after us and maybe wishing that the people before us had planted trees and thought about us a little bit. But anyway, as the millennia wore on, we started to try to bridge the proximal distances of the world as well. And what that ultimately meant was that we realized that we couldn't make someone closer just as a teleport. Instead, what we needed to do was allow ourselves to get there quicker, which was transportation. And so these improvements in technology of transport caused us to simulate a shorter distance, a bridging of that divide. But then over time, technology got even better. And so what happens? Now we have proxies. You right now are watching or listening to this nowhere near where I am. At least I hope you're nowhere near where I am. But maybe you are. Anyway, this stands as a valid substitute for us now. And so we realized that over time, what we're trying to do is bridge distance, which means that as a human race, it's our responsibility to continue to bridge distances as well as we can. But that's a pretty big undertaking for those of us down here in the trenches. It's one thing to say that, historically speaking, people are going to bridge some sort of distance, but what am I to do as a person? Well, here it is. Persons are required to do what they can to reduce the friction that serves as an impediment toward clear communication, i.e., bridging certain amounts of communicative distance. But reducing friction almost sounds like something that has nothing to do with people or communication. It's something you do when you have a plank that you're trying to push a log up or something of that nature. But anyway, we can think of it instead as trying to reduce confusion, because that's a conversational technique that we are able to use. And so what we can say about this is that we know as a given that we can't change people. We've expressed that before. It's a given here in No Other Life. But what can you do? Well, you can influence people, and we're going to get to that community environment, God willing, season 3, fall of this year. And in the meantime, if you just accept that, then we're going to go off of these confusing presentations that we give and maybe how to get ourselves out of those. So what we want to do is show alignment between what we say and how people perceive it, and what we mean to say and how other people interpret it. And the closer we can get to all those things becoming one, just kind of aligning all those dots, the better we will have done to reduce the confusion, reduce the friction, and thus get us closer to where we want to be as that civilization. So for starters, let's think about our presentation. If you were going to prepare a presentation for everyone on the planet that would recognize your face, what would be in it? Chances are you would prepare a slide deck, you'd post it on the wall behind you, you'd serve some treats, and everybody would be gathered, and you would give this presentation. And it would be a pretty important presentation for you. I mean, you're speaking about yourself in front of everyone in the world who recognizes you. And you're going to polish it. You're going to make it look as good as you possibly can. And this imagery is going to stick with us for a few episodes here. Now, what is it that would be in this presentation? How do we talk about ourselves? Well, so far in this season, all that we've come up with is the beginnings of an inventory of characteristics, qualities, traits that we think are of value, that we think we offer the world, and that we like to tell people when we have an opportunity to tell us about yourself. And of course, I've said a 30-second pitch, but maybe it's a minute, maybe it's 141 characters. Who really cares? It's simply a truncated version of your greatest hits. It's your reel. So you got to ask yourself a few questions here about that inventory. And the first is simply, is it outdated? Does this represent the you that you mean it to represent? Now, in just the last, say, year or so, I have needed to, or felt the need, to say goodbye to a part of me that was with me for 30 years. And at first, it was strange that was no longer something that I led with, something that I expressed. And eventually, it became second nature that is not a part of my platform anymore. But if you are still using material that is not currently accurate, then consider that it might need some updating. Secondly, is it a concrete and accurate depiction, or is it more aspirational? Are we full of statements that say, I am, adjective, noun? Or is it full of, I want, I try, I aspire? You see, these things are very different in the world. And let's say, for example, that someone were to say, I am a mountain climber. That implies, or it explicitly says, that at a moment's notice, you have the equipment, you have the knowledge, you know what to do, put you at the bottom of a mountain and you're on your way. Very different from saying, I want to be a mountain climber, which to me, and for the purposes of no other life, suggests that you want to have the ability to scale that mountain. You want to get that view from the top. but you're probably not doing anything toward it right now. Let's compare that yet again to I try to be a mountain climber. That says to me that you're out there, you're maybe now scaling hills and small little peaks, but you haven't really done the big one yet. And so you wouldn't say, I am a mountain climber. You would instead say, I try to be. I'm working on it. And again, this is different from I aspire to be a mountain climber, which maybe means that you're starting to think about buying the gear, and maybe you're taking some outdoors courses and survivalship and all the things that might be helpful, but you're not really getting the boots on the ground yet. Another thing that you need to be cautious about as you look over this proposed inventory of the characteristics, qualities, and traits is this universally accurate? Now, you remember I said that we just put together an audience of everyone in the world who would recognize your face. And you get up and give your presentation about yourself. Will they all agree, yeah, that's correct. That's what I see. Or are some of them saying, wait a minute, did that presentation just say that this person is funny, dependable, and loves to be a morning person? Because what I know is someone who's always half asleep, unreliable, angry. So think about that. Is it universally accurate that all audiences will agree? And fourth, as you look at your inventory, is it accurate? Is it incomplete? Just in terms of the number of things that are on there. And this isn't a trick question or a gimmick or an assignment of any kind. It's simply saying, as you work through this, you're trying to make sure you have a comprehensive inventory. You're not just saying, well, we said on day one that it was the 30-second pitch, so I'm done. No, it's a living document that you're trying to improve upon. Now, I talked about this being our presentation. It's on the wall. It's there for everyone in the world that knows you or recognizes you to see. But that's your presentation. Is it the way that you present? Again, very different. I always love to go for the words that you can look at in different ways. There's nuance here. How do you present yourself? Anytime, friends, that we are shocked to learn something about someone, it's on account of the fact that we have learned something that we didn't really know. The quiet neighbor that you hear about on the news. You go to a family gathering and there's rumors going around about this family member who you thought to be one thing, and you're hearing things that just don't align with your impression of this person. Political scandals, you vote for someone thinking you know what you're getting, and then it's something completely different. So, fortunately, you have the opportunity in 2, 4, 6 years to vote again and try to help them out of office. Cancel culture is another thing, and all of these may feel like some kind of a bait and switch. But the fact of the matter is, in all these cases, you just didn't have the full story. So, are you able to change any of these on your own? No. As I said, and we'll repeat in season 3, you can't change other people. So, you also probably can't change a whole lot of external situations. So, what you need to do is be the leader, be the one who steps up the hill, invites everyone along, and says, I am going to be real. I'm not going to give a confused presentation. And I think once you do that, you'll be able to feel a lot better about yourself. Now, another thing that I want you to do is think about the places where you are saying something very clear and you're not even there. What do I mean by that? Quite literally, the places that are yours, but you're not in them. So if you work in an office space and the custodian comes through, cleans the space at 6 a.m, and they just look around at the desk and the wall, you are presenting to them. Is it what you would want to be presenting? Or perhaps you have a contractor coming into your home, you have an auto mechanic sitting in your car, and they look around. Do they see what would have been in your presentation, or do they see what you are presenting? They're nuanced, to say the least, but significant. Are you saying what you're saying? So a challenge for you this week. I love to send you off with something to think about. Let's look at the ways that we make presentation and see how they're different from the way we present. Now, you can't step outside of yourself. You could, if you're comfortable, talk to other people about how they see you. But again, this season is not about other people. As often as possible, it's been about you. So you can step outside of yourself. With that distant lens, look at something just a little bit differently. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, let's look at the things that you have presented over the years. You might look at old emails that you sent that are in your sent or your outbox. You might look at social media posts that you have made over the years. That would be helpful. Different platforms on social media. Do you give a different presentation? As you think about this, I mean, I don't want you to judge, but just think about it. Is what you are doing in alignment at all times? You may find something very interesting about yourself. And as you're looking through those old emails, looking through those old letters, recalling conversation, whatever it is that you do, go easy on yourself and take care of yourself, because you have no other life.